had plans to do a whole nother video today. You know what I'm saying? Like, I told y'all on my Love and Hip Hop Atlanta review that I was going to be talking about my love life on this video. You know, the love life that I'm, you know, basically, you know, starting. You know what I mean? Like, I got some prospects or whatever. So I wanted to discuss that. But right about now, I was listening to one of my favorite rap songs by Eve. It's called Love is Blind. And I don't think I've really ever talked about this before. Like, I've talked about my own experience, but I've never really just went into detail about the subject matter in the song, which is domestic violence. And you know, there's a lot of things on my channel that I've decided not to display, or things that I decided not to talk about, because I didn't want my channel to be so serious. But at the same time, I do feel like, as I've said before, that my channel does need a bit of shift. It needs to be a perfect balance of entertainment, and it needs to be a message that needs to be put out there at the same time. So let's just talk about my experience with domestic abuse growing up. My mother left my father when I was like 3 years old. And after her grandmother died during that same time period, she got involved with my youngest brother's father. I was like 4 years old at the time. You know, he seemed like a very nice guy. You know, he was that, you know, that person that took the place of my father at the time, because, you know, my father had gotten married, he had other kids, really wasn't in my life like that. So he took that role as my replacement father, because at the time I didn't have one, and I clung on to him. You know what I mean? And as a child, you know, I was happy to have him, because my father wasn't around. My father wasn't there. He was too busy with his wife and his other kids. And this is not a diss to anybody, for my sister or anybody else see this video and think that I'm trying to come for him or anybody else in my family, because I'm not. I'm just telling my story. And you know, he was like, I really loved him. You know, him and my mother wasn't even married yet, but he did things with me that my father never got to do. Like, he taught me how to ride a bike. He taught me how to fight. He taught me how to do this. He taught me how to do that. Even though I wasn't that good of a fighter, he taught me a lot of things that my father wasn't there to teach me. But when I got a little bit older, like around the age of 7, that's when the abuse started. And it started being verbal abuse, not really towards me, but towards my mom. It became verbally abusive. And not only did it become verbally abusive, it became physical. I've seen bloodshed. I've seen black eyes. I've seen people get choked. I've seen people get drugged in the snow. I've seen all sorts of shit. And the abuse started to happen with me, because in a situation where it became very violent, where he had his little episodes, because he would have those days where he's cool as a motherfucker. You know, I fucks with him, that's my nigga. But then he'd have the days where nobody knows what's going on. That light switch flips, and he becomes a straight up bitch, and he mad at the world and everything that's around him, and he takes it out on everybody else, and he becomes verbally abusive. Sometimes it'll become physical if you gave him the time of day. That's what it'll be. And I remember an incident where it became very, very violent. He was getting dropped off at his grandmother's house. It had snowed that year. I was like in the 3rd grade. And it was like, he was furious. Him and my mother fought so hard. He tried to bury her face in the snow. And I tried to defend my mom. And I tried to protect her at 7 years old. But when I tried to fight him, I got picked up, and he picked me up and he threw me in the street, and I fell back first. I could have been seriously injured. I could have been dead. My brain could have been in the street. It was that intense and that fucking serious. And my mother lost her mind. She tried to run him over with the car. So then, you know what I'm saying? They broke up. And he came by, he apologized. I said it was okay for him to come back because I was a little kid. You know what I mean? I was a little kid. And to be honest, my mother never really had much. She didn't really think too much of herself due to her past. You know, they always say that women that go through abuse experience abuse throughout their whole life. My mother was molested. My mother was abused by her mom. Her mother used to abuse her just because she felt like it. Her mother used to beat her ass just because she wanted to. And to this day, her mother never ever admits to it. She lets my mother look like a liar. You know what I'm saying? But there's people in the family that know about it. But because my mother has been ostracized and she's the black sheep of the family, nobody wants to speak up and nobody wants to confirm what they know. So that's a struggle to watch my mom be ostracized and be a black sheep when she's done nothing but try to help these people in the family. And it's sad because I feel like I'm in the middle. Like I feel like I have to, I'm not that type of dude that just because my mother don't like you, that means I got to dislike you. Or because my sister don't like you, I got to dislike you. Or because my brother don't like you, I got to dislike you. I'm my own motherfucking person. So I feel like I don't have to be salty to people just because my mother is. But she has a right to be salty. You know, when you've been ostracized and you've been basically an orphan. My grandmother gave my mother up when she was 6 weeks old from Chicago. She shipped her down here to Mississippi and gave her to my great grandparents, and they raised her from 6 weeks old on up. That's all the fuck she knows. So when you get sent to Chicago for a whole summer and get your ass beat, you develop some type of anger, and that's exactly what it is, to the point where my grandmother doesn't even have a relationship with me nor my siblings. So when I made that video about life without grandparents, which ruffled a couple of fellas, I don't have a relationship with my grandmother. Not my dad's mother, but my mom's mom. I don't have a relationship with her. I don't remember the last time I spoke to her. I think she's sick now, and it's like I don't even care. I don't know you. My anger won't let me feel for a stranger, pretty much. Like, you ain't been in my life. You don't know what's going on with me. And it's just what it is. So, she didn't like my stepdad for what the fuck he was doing to my mom. But you did the same thing growing up. You started the cycle. You know what I mean? You started the abusive cycle. She was abused by someone that was supposed to love her, only for her to get involved with a man who was supposed to love her, and he abused her. So you started the cycle. And years went on with this behavior. Years went on. Years went on. And when I got older and got grown, I began to resent my mom. I love my mom to death. I really did. But I began to resent her because it's like, why are we being inflicted with this behavior? Why are we being inflicted with all of this pain? Why do we have to deal with this shit? Because you're dealing with it. And we automatically have to deal with it. We got to fight for you as well as ourselves. Because this man really needs to seek help. You know what I'm saying? So I began to hate him. We didn't talk for over 2 years. We had a physical altercation. I tried to fight him. I threw candles at him. I tried to stab him. I tried to do everything. But it just didn't, nothing happened. So when I started to work, I wasn't here ever so often. I wasn't speaking to him, wasn't talking to him or nothing like that. And, it was just really ridiculous how he would act. My mother got diagnosed with uterine cancer in 2004. I was like 15. They got into an argument and he had the insurance card and he was like, I'll let you die before you use my insurance card, all because he was upset. Being petty. Like, growing up, you don't know what it's like when you constantly have to monitor someone's behavior. You're scared to leave the house to go out with your friends because you don't know what the fuck is going to go on between your mom and your stepdad. You don't know if they're going to fight in one of them and you're going to come back home and find one of them dead. You have no idea. And that's another reason why I was timid. Not only was I getting bullied at school, but I had a big ass bully at home who claimed that he loved me, but he was very abusive. You know what I mean? Very abusive. Now, months have passed. They're no longer together. They're separated. He doesn't live in the house. But the sad thing about it is that I have forgiven him for whatever it is he did to me. And I'm going to say this. We had someone in common last year that passed away, me and my stepdad. It's this barber that used to cut our hair. His name was Percy. And we went to his barbershop. My stepdad would take me to the barbershop every weekend. And he used to cut our hair. He was like a way of life for us. He passed away. And the day we found out that he passed, my stepfather came into my room. This was like long before him and my mom separated. He came into my room and he apologized to me for everything he ever did. He had tears in his eyes. He apologized to me. And I'm not the type of guy to hold grudges. You know what I mean? At that age, now that I'm in my mid to late 20s, I don't hold grudges. So when he came to me and he apologized from his deepest sincerity, I accepted that. We hugged. He said, "I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I never meant to do this. I never meant to do that. You always had a kind heart towards me," which I did, because no matter what he ever did, I never just treated him like he was a nobody, even though that's what he deserved. But I never ever treated him like that. And from that moment on, I had a better relationship with him. Now, did I fuck with him like that? Nah, because I know what you about. I know that, the shit you put my mom through. But I had come to peace with everything that had happened over the last, at that point, 23 years. 22, 23 years. I had come to terms with that. I had gotten past that. I'm grown and I'm over it. You know what I mean? That's your demons. You got to deal with that. I don't. You got to deal with that. And now, at this point, my youngest brother, who is his son, has a major issue with him, and I don't like that. I don't like that my brother feels the way he does. I don't like the fact that my brother hates his father, because I used to hate mine. And he's 15 now, and I know that there's nothing that I can say to change his mind. You know what I mean? Like, when I was 15, I hated my dad, and everybody used to tell me, "Scotty, don't say that. You're going to regret it. You're going to need your dad one day." And I'd be like, "Fuck that nigga. He ain't been there for me," and all of that shit. You know what I'm saying? So, to see my brother, feel that way and wish bad things upon his father really does hurt my spirit. You know what I mean? Because no matter what he did to you, what he did to me, what he did to my sister, and what he did to our mother, at the end of the day, I feel like he, I feel like you have to forgive. You don't have to forget, but you do have to forgive. And I feel like at the end of it all, my brother will learn that. But right now he's at that age where he doesn't want to hear that. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. That's how I feel. And now, I'm the only one in the house that, pretty much communicates with this man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really have a real issue with him anymore. I mean, he's no longer here anymore. He's not really in my life like that. I don't have a problem with him. He'll call me from time to time to check on me or whatever. But, I don't have a problem with him anymore, because now he has to deal with the fact that he lost his family and probably lost his son based on his own actions and his own behavior. That's the price that he has to pay. So with that being said, you guys, if you're in the domestic dispute or domestic violence relationship, I feel that you need to get out of it before it gets worse. When from the moment the nigga hits you the first time, you need to leave. Don't let it build up into 5 years. Don't let the 5 years build up to 10. And don't let the 10 build up to 15. And don't let the 15 build up to 20. And don't let the 20 build up to over 20. And you be stuck in an abusive relationship until you're broken down, until you have no more fight left in you to get out. I say, if you're in a domestic violence situation, get out of it. It's not worth staying in. It's going to fuck with your mental state. If you got kids, you really need to get out of it, because your kids going to end up being fucked up. Prime example you're looking at. Love is blind, and it'll take over your mind. What you think is love is truly not. You need to elevate and find.